everyone, welcome to another episode of Braxus Photography Fun. Today is a sort of a repeat video that I did a few years ago, and I'm of course doing another one. This video is about shooting film in 2025. Now, film was always mainstream for about 100 so years, up until the early mid-2000s, where it started to peter out. Usually once around 2008, 2010, film really started to get undercut by digital shooting, of course, and digital cameras. And film demand dropped off a cliff pretty much around that point. A lot of films got discontinued. Manufacturing a lot of films sort of really slowed down by quite a bit. Kodak kept at it, of course, but at reduced numbers. The prices of film were still around $6 or so a roll, and that's in Canadian, of course, guys. You could probably buy it for $4 to $5 in the U.S. At U.S. prices back in that time period. And pretty much right around 2015 or so, a lot of those cameras that your fathers had, or your uncle or your grandfather or whoever, were either sold off at cut rate prices, and or that your dad gave his son his film camera. And it seemed to be that the millennials and the Gen Zers really took to shooting film. The demand started to slowly increase again around 2015, 2017, and around 2018, 2020. Demand really started to pick up quite a bit. A lot of millennials love shooting film because it's such a tactile process. It's a process where you have something tangible in your hand to actually see the image. It's not ones and zeros on a computer hard drive. Of course, it's something that doesn't need power either to actually see the image. Of course, you have to make prints off negatives, that kind of thing, but that's even possible, of course, just by shining a light onto some photosensitive paper, and you get an image out of it after developing it, of course. But the whole process of shooting film is just something that really took to a lot of young people. It sort of broke the monotony of just breaking out your cell phone camera, taking a snap, and doing nothing with it after the fact, except maybe showing it on Facebook. But I mean, with film, it's a whole different process. You gotta choose the film that you want to shoot. You have to set the dials on the camera for that particular film if your camera doesn't do that. You have to go out and physically be very selective with your shots to make sure you don't waste an entire roll really quickly. You're very particular on what you take pictures of. And it kind of helps you learn to see a really good image with your eye and then deciding to snap that picture at that point. Of course, taking the roll out, sending it off, getting it developed, having to wait a period of time before you see the results. So there's a bit of anticipation there. And of course, by the time you see the images, it's like, wow, And film has a very different kind of look compared to digital. Digital has a very clean, clinical kind of look to it, very fine grain, a lot of detail, that kind of thing. Film has a very soft look. I mean, the bigger the negative you go, the less that is in terms of softness. But in general, film has a softer look than digital. And you have film grain as well, which gives it texture and of course something very tactile to look at. It's just two different ways of taking images, and they both have a different kind of look compared to each other. But I mean, you can still get really good pictures off of film, of course. Of course, the colors off of film are quite a bit different than what you see on digital. Digital has a more pure color look to it, more accurate colors, if I might even say that. But film has its own set of coloring, of course, and what film you choose to use will give you a different type of color compared to another. And It's really quite a fun process. I mean, shooting film is a lot of fun. That's probably one of the reasons Gen Zers and millennials really took to shooting film. You have to wind the camera, take the shot, wind it again. It's a really involved process compared to just pressing a button on your cell phone and that's it. I mean, I still shoot film myself. I never really got out of shooting film. I mean, I did slow down with it, about 10 or so years ago. But I, of course, picked up again a little bit later after that. I mean, had all these film cameras in my possession, some of which I've sold off, of course. But, I just love shooting film. It's just such a fun way of taking pictures. And, people get that. Like, they want something tangible, something real when it comes to actually taking pictures, something where it's a more involved process so you get more satisfaction out of shooting the shot. It's just, it's not as quick and easy as digital can be. Now, as far as film results, depends on how you get the image taken off the roll itself. You can use a film scanner, you can use a digital camera to take pictures of the negatives directly with macro lens and a light setup and that kind of thing. Or, of course, you can print the negative onto photographic paper. And I mean, my friend Andy, of course, has his own way of making prints as well with different alt processes that he does. And just lots of ways you can get images off of film. One of the beauties of film is film can fade if it's color, but if black and white, it's very stable. You can have a negative from 100 years ago and still get a really good print made off of it as long as it's not damaged too much by scratches or heat damage or anything like that. And it's a very stable process. Color film with colored dyes do tend to fade over the years. It's gotten a lot better in the last 20 or 30 years for stability as far as that's concerned. But film from the 80s and back has been known to fade to some degree where some of the colors will end up being off, that kind of thing. But Kodak made a lot of strides to try and make film more stable for color film. One of the things that people were mentioning is that film shooting has sort of gone down a little bit because of the cost of film. It's no longer $5 or $6 a roll. It's now $15, $20, even $30 a roll of film. And that's really cutting into people shooting a lot of it for fun. I mean, I don't shoot a lot of photography when I do take pictures, so I have no problem restocking a few rolls here and there that I use up. Of course, I don't go hog wild when I take pictures to begin with. But people who like to shoot a lot of rolls of film are not doing it as much because of the cost. Now, film developing has gone up in cost as well as the roll of film itself. So people are cutting down on what they're shooting with film. People are also not shooting it altogether. They're opting out to just get out of film photography. I've got a freezer full of film that dates back 10, 20 years since I've been collecting it, and some of the films have age limits, probably 30, 40 years old in some cases, like Panatomic X. And so I'm set for using film probably until the day I pass away by the sounds of things. So I just top up a few films that I use, and it's just something I don't go through a lot of rolls per year, so it tends to sit in the freezer most of the time. So for me, it's not an issue, but the real factor in shooting film these days is the cost of it. Now, film has jumped up in price extremely high compared to what it was 5-10 years ago. You used to be able to get a roll for $3 to $5, and in some cases $7 to $9. And now you're lucky if you can get a roll of film between $10 and $20 that doesn't break your bank. And you've still got to factor in the cost of developing the film, the scanning of the film, making prints if you still do that. and it just gets extremely expensive per roll to shoot a roll of film. And keep in mind, you're only getting 24 to 36 shots per roll, so it's not like you're getting a really good amount of pictures to even out the cost a little bit. And another factor that shooting digital kind of equates to better images than film is the fact that the resolution of digital is far surpassed what you can get off of film these days. And the only exception to that is maybe shooting 4x5 or 8x10 or larger formats than that. And those are the only exceptions to the rule. I mean, I took some pictures on my GFX 50R and compared them against my Pentax 6.7 pictures, but the grain of the film was getting in the way of the detail. And just looking at the digital pictures, there was just way more information in the detail than what I was getting off of film. So even still, you really gotta love shoot film to keep using it these days. Now, I grew up in the days when film was the only choice. I still love shooting film. As you can see, I've got multiple film cameras to shoot with, and I just love the whole process of film. Now, the reason why you'd want to shoot film is A, because you like the look. Now, a lot of people will be able to not compare digital and film together too much, unless you're maybe using a Fuji camera, of course. And you just get more of a neutral look out of digital than you would out of film. Film has more of a biased look in it, depending on what type of film you're using, be it black and white or color. And the colors are not quite the same with film that you get out of digital. So as I say, you really got to love the look of film to keep using it. I prefer that look in some cases. I find digital just a little bit flat in some ways, except for the pictures I've got off of GFX cameras, and that's the reason why I chose that particular brand. So yeah, my film freezer has probably got 200-300 rolls of film, so as I say, I don't go through a lot of it, and I'm probably set for life in using film, so I'll continue to shoot it. But when it comes down to it, digital seems to give a better result in most cases, unless, as you say, you like the grain of the film itself to give it that texture, that quality that you don't get out of digital, more of a filmic look instead of a very clean, flat look that you might get out of digital. I don't know. It's just something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and I'm starting to question whether I will be shooting film as much as I had in the past, seeing the results off my GFX cameras. And yeah, I hate to say it, but I think digital has surpassed film in a lot of ways. So be it as you say, film is still there for many people. The fact that you get to choose the type of film that you use, you get to choose the look that the film's going to give you, whether it's black and white or color, the grain that the film's going to have to give it that texture, that real filmic look that you don't get out of digital. It's just so many differences in qualities between the two formats. But as a result, of course, your mileage may vary depending on your film choices and what cameras you're using. And of course, how you're getting them scanned up. Of course, a drum scan is always going to be the best. The one thing about film versus digital is that film, you only have 24 to 36 shots per roll, and you really have to slow down with shooting your pictures and be very selective in your pictures, which is sort of a good thing. But I tend to shoot digital the same way regardless, so it's not really a factor in my picture shooting. So thinking about it in respect, as I say, you really got to love shooting film in the sense of the qualities you get out of the film itself. I still love the process of shooting film, and that's why I'll continue to use it. But as I say, I think you do get better results out of digital in a lot of ways these days. Digital cameras have come so far in the last 20 years that they've really come to a point where the differences between film and digital are so minute. And especially when you're using medium format cameras like the GFX, for example, the quality of the colors, the quality of the tones, the sharpness and detail that you get out of it, and so many other factors really don't give you a reason to continue to shoot film other than the qualities that film itself gives you that digital doesn't. So in that respect, just thought I'd think about it and post this little video to see what you think. I'm not saying I hate film at this point. I still love shooting film and I will continue to shoot film. I'm just finding that digital has narrowed the gap so far to the point where it's almost negligible between the two, and the qualities you get out of digital that film can't quite replicate unless you're using a very large format film. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. And of course, again, as I said before, the main factor in film is the cost of it these days. It really is not cheap to shoot film anymore, and I'm finding some people are starting to shy away from shooting film because of it. And it seems to be a general trend of people starting to shy away from using film these days. Now, as you can see from the beginning of my video, I have a film freezer full of film, so I have no issues in shooting film as far as actually having to buy it. I've got a stock of film that probably lasts me the rest of my life if it keeps that long. But basically, a lot of film shooters, they buy their stock fresh. They buy the rolls they need for the year or for so many months. And they shoot a lot more film than I do. Some say they shoot about 4 or 8 rolls per week. Maybe even more than that in some cases if it's professionally. But yeah, the video I watched, which I'm linking below, was starting to show that because of the cost of film these days, that people are starting to not use it now, because it just, not only is it the high expense of buying the film itself, but you got the processing costs, you got the scanning costs, and if you even make prints, you've got that cost. And it really all starts to add up when you start factoring the cost per roll. And you're only getting up to 36 pictures per roll, or 10, 12, whatever if you're shooting 120 film. And yeah, and it just, even myself, I still use digital a lot during my shoots when possible. But I mean, I still love shooting film, of course. I just love the process of it. And when I was watching this video, it was showing some people are starting to say I stopped using film altogether. And just, it's kind of a little disheartening to know that, you know, film shooters were starting to really start to love using the format. And then because of the cost of using it these days and the economics out there in the world today, with people being a little bit cash strapped, that kind of thing, that people are starting to not use it. Now, I've noticed that some film shooters are starting to go to the brand Fuji to get a digital camera, whether it's like an X Pro 3 or it's a GFX camera. That could explain why I got a lot of views on my GFX videos as well, because people are starting to go into that format to shoot pictures. And yeah, I mean, it is cheaper shooting digital in the long run, but you really got to love using film to keep using it. Now, I'd say when I watched that video that maybe a third to close to maybe a half of the people are still staying steadfast in using film, and they just want to keep using it because they love the format, they love the process of using film, they love the look of film. And it's just, yeah, it's basically people with money, it seems to be the ones that are still using film. The people that are on a budget and have to count their pennies, those are the ones that are starting to go back to digital and either leaving film behind or shooting a lot less rolls of film per year. Well, my photo friend Andy was mentioning that we should mention how digital camera sales have gone down in the market as well. That's probably the case just because people are still keeping their older cameras and they're perfectly fine for their use. A lot of new cameras, the quality is so good, but it's not necessarily much of an improvement from what they already have from a few years back. But I mean, with film shooting, a lot of people are still using old cameras, of course, and some of those cameras are starting to fail, or they're needing repairs, of course, and getting that done is not always ensured that you're actually going to get it fixed. But it's pretty impressive how Fuji has picked up in the market with their digital cameras. A little bit. I don't have any proof to show that's the case, but that's my perception on it, and that seems to be the case. Again, a lot of film shooters are shooting Fuji cameras these days because of the film simulations and because they love the use of it, of their cameras, and the fact that they have all the dials and that kind of thing that which simulates using a film camera. But I mean, the profits are up at Kodak and other film companies in regards to producing film, but at the same time, as I said, I'm starting to see cracks in the ice as far as people starting to leave using film and not shooting it as often or at all as they used to. So there's that case. But yeah, so it's a little disheartening that it's gotten to the breaking point for some people, but of course that some people like myself will still continue to use it, and there you have it. Leave me a comment below in how your film shooting has affected you these days. Are you shooting less? Are you shooting about the same? Are you even shooting more for that matter? Are you starting to use digital instead or in addition to using film? Let me know in the comment section below how the cost of film is affecting you today. Now, the reason people still love shooting film is they love the process of film. They love choosing the rolls, loading it in the camera, taking the shots, winding the film, seeing the film being developed, waiting for the film to be developed for that matter, scanning it up, of course. It's just the whole process that a lot of people love doing. I mean, I don't love scanning film because it's such an arduous and long process. But it's sort of a necessity because I don't do prints much these days. Just the whole process of film, making you slow down and take the pictures, being selective with what you shoot, and so on and so forth. You really got to love using film to actually use it today. And I mean, I've got plenty of film cameras. I've got plenty of film in the freezer, so I'm not restricted in that sense. The only cost that I'm basically putting out is the cost of developing and scanning. I do get my color films sent out and scanned, and my black and white, I do that at home. I scan it at home as well, and it's a lot easier in that respect. More control that way as well. But yeah, I do admit that with digital cameras these days, that digital, in my opinion, has surpassed film in terms of quality. You get a lot better color in digital pictures. You get a lot better resolution as well. You can blow up your pictures a heck of a lot bigger on digital than you can with film, unless you're shooting medium or large format, of course. And you do get a better result, and it's probably almost easier to manipulate as well. And if you're shooting film, you're probably getting it scanned, and you're in a sense getting a digital picture off the film anyway. So why add the extra step and just shoot direct to digital and not losing a generation of quality in respect to the image that you get from the camera. So I know some people will probably shoot me for saying digital is probably better today. But film has its own look. It's the look that people love and why they keep using it. I mean, I still love using film, as you can see. It's just the whole process of shooting film that I love. I just love selecting the film. I love developing it. I love scanning it when it doesn't take too long, of course. And I just love the whole process of film. But as I say, you do get a better image quality off of digital these days with current digital cameras out there, especially Fuji with their GFX cameras, for example. I would suggest getting a GFX camera if you're a film shooter and wanting to get into digital. They're basically a really good way to go. They're not a fast camera to use, but the quality is really unsurpassed in a lot of ways. So I recommend that for you. Definitely, you gotta love it kind of process. It's a very niche market, film photography. It'll never go mainstream again, but it has picked up a lot of interest where Kodak has even redone its factory with a lot of the equipment, where they've upgraded a lot of components in the last year. I believe that was November 2024 when they did that, and they shut the whole thing down for a month or two and replaced a lot of the equipment. So they feel that film photography is going to stick around for a while yet, and it helps them to increase the capacity of film that they can produce. Now, Kodak's pretty much one of the only players for color photography film itself. Other players are trying to get into it as well, like ADOX, like I think even Lucky's trying to get back into it at some point. But you know, there's a film, Ilford, we can't forget Ilford. Ilford's got a few color films out now. Yeah, keep in mind a lot of the side businesses like Lomo get Kodak to make their film. You know, or of course they're getting I think Invisitech or somebody else to do some other film for their inventory as well. So there are other manufacturers other than Kodak doing color film, but Kodak is pretty much the main player as far as making color film is concerned. So black and white, there's a lot of options out there as far as black and white film is concerned. I still shoot a lot of Kodak myself. I like F-key film as well. I do shoot, you know, the odd occasional Ilford roll as well, being Pan F Plus and occasionally HP5. But other than that, you know, I pretty stick to my select group of pictures and films, that kind of thing. So anyway, take a look at that other video that I was linking to as well. He has some good points when it comes to film photography, and you know, that video is a couple years old now, but it's still relevant today. And yeah, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Like, do you still shoot film, or have you cut it out because of the cost? Why do you shoot film over digital? I mean, as I mentioned myself, I still shoot film, but I also shoot digital along with it. So I bring usually one of each camera, or you know, a few film cameras and a digital camera with me. So I like having backups of each. Like film is my backup for digital, and digital is my backup for film. They give different looks compared to each other, especially when it comes to color. But and of course with black and white film you can get true black and white look, whereas digital seems a little bit oddly processed, if you want to call it that. But other than that, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Just let me know what you think, guys. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Well, thank you for watching, and aye and goodbye. Eh?